let's move on really quickly to someone else who's decided that he's going to say, "Hail to the new Jesus. He is the new Jesus according to him." And we're like, Ringtone, wow, Ringtone, why do we listen to you? Like, why do we keep giving you an allowance to say stuff? Because every time you say anything, it's just very problematic. Now, I remember last week we spoke about this. We told you about the fact that Ringtone Apoko had been arraigned in court for a fraudulent case where he was supposed to, he tried to apparently, legally, allegedly, him and his co-conspirator tried to defraud a woman out of 50 million Kenya shillings worth of land. And in this particular case, he was released on bail for 3 million Kenya shillings. So honestly, after staying in jail in prison or in remand, wherever they put them, for about 4 days, he was released. Now, as soon as he was released, of course, he started conducting the interviews. And on an interview with Miss Trudy, she obviously asked him what the story was. Like, what's the situation? You were in prison, you were in jail, you were in remand, whichever one you want to say. What was that about? And he says, look, Jesus himself was arrested. Paul was arrested. Daniel was arrested. Who hasn't been arrested? As men of God, or as God's men, we consider these trials, because even in those prisons that are meant for human beings, some are wrongly imprisoned and others are imprisoned legitimately. Continue to say, I can only say that I was misunderstood, because apparently this whole land issue, sorry, let me read it. There is land belonging to a certain woman that I want, and that woman accused me. She was deceived by people that I wanted to steal her land, so she sued me back in 2023, and we were given a court date, which is what ended up happening, and that meant they needed to restrain me for entering her land. Continue to actually say that he believes in the justice system of Kenya. He believes that any issues like these should be resolved in court, but also continued to bring God into the mix again by saying, but God gave me the name, and even Jesus was defamed. So I am very positive, because, I have no need for her land. My conscience is very clear. I don't need her land. Some people are deceiving her, and maybe they want to teach me a lesson or to fix me. I don't know what my enemies are up to. And that's how he concluded the interview. And I'm just like, all right, cool. So you're saying this woman, you wanted her land, but then you also didn't want her land. Okay. You asked her to buy her property, and then some random person came and told the woman that, yeah, he wants to steal your land. Okay. You were put in remand, and then now you're claiming that even Jesus was put in prison, among other people like Daniel and the other guys, Paul. All of these powerful people within the Bible, all of them were put in prison. So you also being put in prison is just a sign that you are a man of God in that way. First of all, none of those people were put in prison none of those people were put in prison because of doing bad things like trying to defraud people off of land, allegedly. So the fact that he keeps trying to make it look like, oh, he's this saintly person who is just wrongfully being accused of things or being put in positions where he has to defend himself for whatever reason, is simply because he is a Christian, and therefore trials and tribulations have to be put to him in order for him to somehow prove his word. It was such a long-winded way of him not giving us any information. That's all I can say. Look, the reality of the matter is true. The matter is with the court, so we'll wait and see what happened. But at this point, I don't think anyone should be listening to Ringtone's spiel, because it's always the same garbage. Like, it's always the same nonsense of him somehow coming up on top being like, yeah, it's my enemies. Sir, what enemies? You are your biggest op at this point. Hi, he pisses me off.
Guys, in case you didn't know, there's nothing as difficult as getting a restraining order. There's nothing as difficult as getting a restraining order on somebody, because you have to show proof, you have to show intent, you have to show previous abuse or previous infringement of your rights or your space. So there's so many things you have to prove You really have to prove that this person is a danger to you, this person is doing too much for you to be granted a restraining order. Even domestic violence victims, they do
barely
not
ever
get
get that
restraining orders because they're like, we have to wait and see. Even stalkers, you have a stalker, somebody who's showing up at your workplace, somebody who is following you around. You go to the police station, you ask for a restraining order. You will not be granted one because the police will say, well, he hasn't done anything. All he did was follow you. All they did was call you. All they did, until somebody has shown you shege and it was proven, you caught them on CCTV, you caught, you know. So for
You
somebody
have to provide your own proof.
exactly for somebody to show up and say, well, here's what happened. Yes, she had a restraining order, but Jesus was also persecuted. What? She had a restraining order for a reason. And here's the thing, it's not the first time you have been involved in such a case. You are always being strung in stories involving land grabbing, showing up to old Indian mamas' houses and saying it's yours and showing up with goons. It's something you've been doing and people know, people associate you with it. I mean, obviously, if Rington showed up to my property in Karen, you know, I'd be like, call the police.
What are you doing?
Security. And even if he said, I legitimately want to buy your property,
I wouldn't be too sure I want to sell it.
ring the alarm. Security. La polizia, no. So please, stop making up a story. Stop trying to defend yourself. I don't even know why you hopped on an interview, talk about it. And I don't know why anytime you have a court appearance, you always have an ailment of some sort. You always show up in a bandage. I don't know if it's for garnering sympathy, but it's not working. We just see you and we see clown. Like, what next? It's getting a bit tired.